All right, let's talk about the hidden psychology of dating apps. We're going to dig into how our deepest, most ingrained relationship patterns, our attachment styles, are secretly running the show behind every swipe, match, and message you send.
I mean, seriously. If you've ever been completely baffled by ghosting, or those weird mixed signals, or conversations that just poof, fizzle out, you are so not alone. It can feel totally random, right? But what if it isn't? What if there's a predictable, almost scripted pattern behind all that chaos?
And that's the big idea right there. The best way to think about your attachment style is like it's the subconscious operating system running in the background of your entire love life. It's the code that influences who you're drawn to, how you talk to them, and why some of those dynamics feel so frustratingly familiar.
Okay, so first up, let's look at how one specific style, the anxious attachment style, really shows up on these platforms. Because it turns out, not all swiping is created equal. For some people, it's just a casual game, but for others, it's a deeply intense emotional investment.
A really important concept here is something researchers call dating app intensity. And look, this isn't just about how many times a day you're opening Tinder or Hinge. No, this is about how much emotional energy you're pouring into it. It's the hope you put into every single match, the anxiety you feel while you're waiting for a reply. It's about how much the app matters to your sense of self-worth.
Now get this. Research from Radford University found that attachment anxiety alone can explain over 7% of the reason why some people use dating apps so intensely. Now, I know what you're thinking, 7%? That doesn't sound like a lot. But in the world of psychology, trust me, that's a huge number. It means this deep-seated anxiety is a powerful, measurable force that's actually driving how we engage with these apps.
So, you gotta ask, why the intensity? Well, for someone with an anxious attachment style, the app isn't just a tool to meet people. It becomes a primary source of validation. Every match, every little message is like a hit of reassurance that calms those underlying fears of being rejected or abandoned. And that, right there, creates a powerful cycle of intense, emotionally driven use.
So now let's flip the coin and look at the other side of the spectrum, the avoidant attachment style, because they use a completely different playbook online. And honestly, the clash between these two styles, that's where the real drama of modern dating begins.
What we see are two totally opposing strategies. On one hand, the anxiously attached person becomes an information seeker. They're digging through profiles, trying to learn everything they can to feel safe and reduce uncertainty. And on the other hand, you've got the avoidant person who practices low self-disclosure. They keep things light, superficial, and safe to protect their independence.
You see, for the avoidant user, getting close can feel like losing their freedom. Those deep, vulnerable conversations, they can be genuinely exhausting. In fact, that same study from Radford University found that attachment avoidance accounted for nearly 20% of how much intimate information someone shares. That is a massive tendency to keep potential partners at arm's length.
But here's the thing, it's not just about our individual styles. The online environment itself actually changes how these patterns play out. So let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture.
Okay, this is where it gets kind of wild. A 2024 study from Sapienza University found something totally counterintuitive. When people were in online relationships, they actually reported lower levels of attachment anxiety, but higher levels of attachment avoidance compared to their offline relationships. So, what in the world is going on here?
This quote is the key. The digital world creates a buffer. Think about it. There's no physical presence. It's all text-based. It makes being vulnerable feel way less immediate, way less risky. This can actually soothe an anxious person's fears, but it also gives an avoidant person more control, allowing them to engage with even more emotional distance than they ever could face-to-face.
And this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, and maybe the most powerful, mind-bending dynamic of all, that magnetic and often pretty painful attraction between the anxious and the avoidant. It is absolutely no accident these two find each other over and over again.
It's often called the anxious-avoidant trap, and this is not a conscious choice people are making. No, it's a powerful magnetic pull that's happening way down on a subconscious level, driven by old childhood patterns and a deep, deep need for what feels familiar.
According to psychologist Tice Gibson, this trap gets set in two main ways. First, we're attracted to people who express the very traits we've pushed down in ourselves. So the anxious person, who craves connection, is fascinated by the avoidant's cool independence. And the avoidant, who suppresses emotion, is secretly intrigued by the anxious person's warmth. But the second part, man, this is where it gets really profound.
And this right here is the core of that subconscious comfort zone. People with an anxious style often self-abandon. They're always putting their partner's needs before their own. So when an avoidant partner pulls away and creates distance, all they're doing is mirroring that abandonment right back. Consciously, it feels terrible, but to the subconscious mind, it feels familiar. And for our brains, familiar feels safe.
So look, this isn't about blaming anyone or slapping labels on people. It's about understanding the invisible forces that are shaping our digital lives. Just seeing the pattern, the intensity, the distance, that magnetic pull, that's the first and most powerful step toward changing it. So the real question is, now that you can see the operating system, what new code are you going to choose to write?